Reese basses. They're one of the most iconic and versatile sounds in hip hop, electronic and R&B. But how do we make them? In this video, we'll create beginner, intermediate and advanced Reese basses, so no matter your skill level in sound design, you pick up valuable tips along the way. Let's start with the beginner Reese bass. For this, we're using a free synth called Vital so everyone can follow along. First, start with a simple saw wave. This sounds a bit too buzzy at first, so let's tame it using a filter. The key to creating that classic Reese sound is by adding some unison, which gives it a detuned character. From here, you can fine tune the filter amount. For extra depth, try adding in a second oscillator pitched down an octave to enhance the low end. Later in this video, we'll compare the use of analog synths to digital synths to create versatile Reese basses. Next, let's make the intermediate Reese bass. For this, it starts very similar to the beginner Reese bass, but we need to make a few changes. So we start with a saw, with some unison, and add a filter. But a trick to make your bass sound a lot more detuned is to bring the oscillator 2 and slightly detune it. Now the unison is going to sound a lot more thicker than just using 8 voices of unison. Next, to give us more control over the sub of our sound, we're going to go into the oscillator editing section for each saw and turn down the fundamental. We're then going to use oscillator 3 to add this back in. Make sure you set this to a sine wave. And now oscillator 3 is going to be the level of the sub in your Reese bass. We can leave it in mono, or we can add unison to make it wider. And a final intermediate trick is to add chorus to make your bass sound a lot wider. I'm going to leave the bass in mono, so make sure you set the unison to 1 voice. And instead of sending it to filter 1, we're going to send it to direct out. This way it doesn't go through the effects. Then we're going to add a chorus to make our detune sound even more intense and give us a very interesting character for our sound. If you would like a Reese bass preset, there are plenty in the Patreon. We have the Slide Reese bass, FM8 Reese bass, Stacey Adams Reese bass, and even Rakata by Arca. But for this one, I'll reduce the filter cutoff. For the advanced Reese bass, we're going to use a hardware synth. But not all hardware synths have unison, so we need to use a different approach. First, let's start with our beginner template, a saw with a filter. And to achieve the detuned effect, there are 2 methods. The fastest way is by adding a chorus. But my favorite method is by understanding how unison actually works. Unison duplicates the sound into multiple voices and detunes each one slightly. To replicate this, we record multiple takes from the synth and adjust the fan pitch to detune them. Finally, pan the layers to make them wider. I usually make the more detuned layers wider. So for these type of bass sounds, I'd highly recommend using a synth that has unison, like Serum or Vital. However, if you want your bass sound to have a bit more character, you can use a hardware synth like we've done in this video, but it just means that you're gonna have to take a bit more time to record in each take to create your bass sound. If you found this video useful, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next video.